Alright, continuing my series of pseudo guide videos here. So, what prompted this one here is actually, we just got done the spa round, of course, on Sunday, and I just got done the stewarding yesterday. Today I'm prepping up for the 3D speed race at Imola. Arm is feeling significantly better, so that should be good. So, that's the health update. Don't even feel like I have to really wear the sling anymore, although there is definitely still something not right with the arm when I rotate it a certain way, so full movement has still not been established, but I should be able to race without any issue. So anyways, what was kind of weird is I got a report of a blue flag failure that wasn't a blue flag failure, and the person who reported it knows all about this. I'm not gonna name names, but it was just one of like a number of scenarios where we've seen kind of lack of driver awareness and lack of using all the information that is available to the driver. Now, I'm gonna try to run a 30-minute race here with the AI. The AI are set to very low, so I'll be notably faster than them and making my way through. But I'm going to try and pit early and try to show you some of the things that you can use to talk about to figure out where you are in the race, because there have been a number of incidents of cars being seemingly unaware that the car around them, because of our pit stops, is not racing them, if that makes any sense. So I'll try to bring it through, and just some other things as well. So I do have to say, this is a bit of a weird grid. We got a random silver entry up here in 7th, and then like Jim Pla, and then like Bertrand Baguette, who's like a really, really good driver, down in like 22nd place. It's a bit weird. Anyways, this is me, number 74 Mercedes. Put myself at the front just because I want to run away from the bots, because I think it'll set up what we're doing here best. Let's load my setup here, and then look at the fuel. So it should be about 60 liters for the whole thing, I would think. Let's prep for 70. So we'll swap this down to 35 and 35 on the pit stop. Okay, let's go. Short formation lap here. Wow. Come on, boys. And come on, green. There we go, green light. Okay. So, something that has to be pointed out here is you can see the pit stop requirements there. Driver swap won't be there, and there's also I have a fuel. I do require fuel. Okay, so fuel, tires, anything there that is not green is not happening. So that's something that I've covered before in the pit stop guide video, but I also want to bring it up again because there are still some people getting penalties for not changing tires or whatever what it may be, as well as speeding in the pit lane, which I'll talk about when I get to the pit stop. But anyways, you can see there that I can't pit right now. The window's not open, so the driver swap and so on wouldn't happen. Don't actually need to go down a sec there. So something else that you need to make use of is this screen here. This is the pit stop MFD. This is where you can look at, you can turn your pit limiter on here. You can look at the strategy that you're running. Always double check that, because I noticed that Spot changed me over to setting 29 for some reason. Like, it used to do setting 30 all the time, and now it's doing setting 29. So, go figure. Anyways, double check that at the start of the race to make sure that you're on the pit stop strategy you actually want to use. You could also have the changing of brakes there. I'm not sure, so hang on. There we go. Tom Laszlo Cole getting the car. So you can see how the driver swap is now gone green. And as a result, I didn't actually need to shift down there. I'm just, as I'm talking, I kind of want to be kind of careful a little bit. So you may not see the greatest, like, lines or braking points or whatever. These are all going to be, like, pretty safe laps as opposed to fast laps. Anyways, so this screen is very much your friend when it comes to pit stops. And you can see here, this is something that I've pointed out and I think everyone gets now. The minimum pit stop time is 30 seconds. You can see right there the pit required time is 30. So, like, if I go to the fuel, and I'll fiddle around with that when we hit the camel straight, because I don't fiddle around with anything as I go through Eau Rouge. Thank you very much. Okay. So, let's roll this down. Note how, as I'm dropping the fuel, the projected time of the pit stop is not at all changing. This is because that pit stop time is already as low as it will go. It won't go below 30 seconds. Now, this does not mean that a pit stop will automatically be 30 seconds. If you're fixing, for example, body work or suspension damage, it can go more. And if you're over-fueling, it can go more. So it's not that we have a set pit time, it's just we have a minimum pit time. So, like, for example, if you're pitting outside the window to fix some damage, like, say, Wayne Hutchison did in the actual race after the first lap, that would be an example of not wanting to take fuel, because you're probably, with all the damage, you're probably at over 30 seconds anyways. No time give. I'm surprised. It's very forgiving with the pool on track limits, to be honest. So this is, and you can see there's the check mark for the tire change there as well, and you can adjust. So, for example, there's nothing I'd adjust here because my tire pressures look good. But let's say the left rear was at like 26.9 or something really quite out of the 20 the 27.5 to 28.5 window that I like to keep my tires in. And 27.5 is about as low as I want them. Like, any lower than that is you're losing performance significantly. Let's say that let's say the left rear was at 26.8. I could add an extra PSI to the left rear if I wanted, or rear left, I should say. They use that there. Alright, so what else can you get through the MFD screen? Alright, so this is the one I spend most of my time in. This gives me a gap to the car directly ahead of me on track and the car directly behind me on track. Back about, well, you can see there, 3 cars, forward and back. Pit window's open now. And we can see that I am ahead of Dries Van Thorn, who's in second place. And the next car ahead of me is Philip Fromweiler, who is the guy at the back of the pack. Surprised it's not one of the AM cars down there. It's a silver car. It's a bit weird. Now, of course, in multiplayer, the numpad colors won't actually mean anything, really. Like, I know that there are drivers that race with us that hold a, air quotes, Pro Cup, which is the white color, the top of the pile, rating that is not truly deserved, or just because they're not necessarily fast, because like the ratings in this game unfortunately have less to do with pace and more to do with safety and just your ratings, which don't necessarily translate to being a faster driver. So as a result, there's problems there with getting accuracy. And then there's like people who are new to the game who have the red AM color who are actually quite quick. Now, next season, I do want to look into doing proper cups where like we do a custom entry list and I choose the color of your nameplate, basically. Or not I choose, but like I work out some kind of system to appoint people to a rating, and we'd release that rating ahead of time, and if you believe I'm wrong, we can discuss it, we can look at it. But basically similar to how the FIA has every driver with a rating. I could pit now, but I don't think I have the gap that I really want. Do I? Let's do it. So I have auto pit on here. So we're rolling in. I pull up my pit window. And make sure I'm down below 50. There we go. And we roll in. We're at the end of the pit lane there. Of course, Spa, massively long pit lane. This actually kind of makes sense because Darren Burke wouldn't run very long. Tom Oslo Cole is a much better driver than Darren Burke. So there's the fun. Even if Darren Burke looks a lot more like me than Tom Oslo Cole does. Because Darren Burke has a shaved head. There we go. Turn the car off. Pit crew goes to work. We can see on here where everyone is. So the other one you have, this is just gives you an actual position of the race. So it ignores who's on your lap or whatever. This is the position you're in. So I'm first place, then Dries Thor, then Finley Hutchison's up into third. What is that noise? Anyways, I don't use this too much. The only time I'd use this is if the guys around me, due to like lap positions or whatever, are just not the people I'm racing. Like for example at Barcelona, if anyone saw my onboard there, that would be an example of where I'm what's the word I'm looking for? I couldn't figure out who was ahead of me, so I could have swapped this, and I would have figured out that was Finish ahead of me, and that it didn't matter because he was far enough ahead that I wasn't catching him regardless of... Okay, now, big thing here. See how the color next to my name has gone from orange with a 1 in it to green? That means that I have cleared my mandatory pit stop. So if I go over to here and look at this, this is a big thing to me. If I come out behind someone, they know that I'm not really racing them. I'm effectively a pit stop ahead. Not really sure why I'm getting a blue flag. No one should be lapping me. It's a little bit silly. Maybe that's just a warning, perhaps. But I'm on the tail of Bona Fide. I don't know him. I went over the white line there a little bit. So that was not the cleanest rejoin. But like as I'm coming up to Bona Fide, one, for me, I know that he's slower than me. Now, they're all slower than me, but, you know, just saying. Let's say that this is an MP race with variable paces or whatever, and I'm coming out of the pits. He hasn't pitted yet. His tires are not as fresh as mine are, and he was well behind me when I pitted. So, I know that when I'm following him, I'm not necessarily going to have the most predictable time with him. He's doing something probably significantly different than me. Like, for example, he's probably slower in Eau Rouge. He's probably slower in Blanchiment. He's probably slower in Pouillon. And I have to adjust my driving style accordingly to not have contact with him. Like, a good example of this from the stewarding video was the penalty that Christoph Verstappen took at Barcelona by hitting Martin Hughes. It was a situation where he'd come out behind Hughes, who had not pitted yet, but didn't really put enough, like, kind of patience into figuring out that, like, case in point right there, that he was going to get really close to somebody under braking points because they're slower than you. They're not guys that you're actually racing. Now, the same goes for the guys I'm catching here. Fabian Barthez up ahead of here can look at his MFD and see the fact that, wow, the guy coming up behind me is already pitted. He's on fresh tires. Was way ahead of me when he pitted, and he's coming through. And there's not really a tremendous... I am going to break here for this. There is not really a tremendous point in fighting with him. These are the tools that you have available that you can use to figure it out. Because there have been moments in races that I've seen either through the broadcast or the stewarding reports or whatever, where someone who was effectively not racing someone was trying to race them. Or you get a situation like the report I had, which was this guy with a blue flag is fighting me, and the truth is that the guy who was not a competitor for him was ahead of him. He just hadn't pitted yet. As I'm zipping through here. So I'm going to stop talking here as I zip through the traffic here. Just through this Eau Rouge section, because I don't want to horribly crash. Again, taking it really slow. Oh, okay, so here's an example here where, like, I'm completely boxed in behind a bunch of guys who I've come out like this is not a pit strategy I'd recommend in the actual race, because you're dropping back into traffic because of how long the pit lane takes at Belgium, at Spa. Like, I'm in amongst... Well, right now I'm in amongst some silver drivers, which are actually probably my skill set if I had these drivers properly attuned. And actually a factory Bentley there in Maxime Soulet, who's a pro, who is not one of the stronger pro drivers in my opinion, but a pro driver nonetheless. Go down the inside of Maxime, get a little bit of a safety limit penalty there. But what you're seeing here is that I know exactly the circumstances of the cars that I'm facing, to a degree. I can see that I pitted early, so I'm coming through the field. They know also that I'm coming through. Now, it could be that the AI is just set so low, which, that was not smart. Ugh. Anyways, it could just be that the AI is set so low, so I'm not saying that like you need to behave like these drivers or anything, but there's a point here. So here's where it's going to be really important. The leader is pitting, who I assume is probably Dries Van Thorn in his Audi, who is in second place. Now, where I come out in relation to Dries is the key. And to be honest, I think Dries is being a little bit silly here, as I'm being a little bit careful here as Crestani and Jake Denis, or Jake Dennis. Is it Denis or Dennis? I don't know. I think it's Dennis. I really should know, because actually I know who Jake Dennis is. I've followed his career from like F3. But anyways, there is a Crestani's in the pits. Anyways, okay, so where am I coming out in relation? I'm going to overtake Ribarros, but I don't think he's the guy. He might actually be the guy I'm fighting. We'll find out. Okay, so 9th place. The only car I'm seeing in the pits. Is Ribarros actually Dries Van Thorn's teammate? That might be... Okay, so that might be the car I'm actually fighting with. I mean, I should easily beat him out. I was up like 30 seconds when I came into the pits. Again, this is like me... This is me beating up some tackling dummies. So, again, don't look at the driving. But I'm just trying to educate people to use the HUD to its full ability. So another thing that you can use the HUD for is if you go to this page here, you can see the track is optimum right now. I can see the track temperature. I can see the air temperature. So I can predict is, like, if I hadn't have pitted, I could think, well, it's getting colder, it's getting warmer, and adjust my tires accordingly. And of course, the optimum track time comes really into play in like practice and in qualifying, when you really don't want to waste your time with a fast or a green track. You look for the optimum and you go for it. You can also see a weather report there. It's telling me in 5 minutes it's going to be sunny, in 15 minutes it's going to be sunny, so I don't have to worry about anything weather-wise. But that would tell you some upcoming rain or anything like that. I'm on wet tire pit stop. That would not be good. Hey, Jim Claw, up in his Pro-Am entry. Now that's one thing you wouldn't see in MP. I don't know actually how it handles multiple drivers in terms of the cups. That'd be interesting. Whether the Pro-Am class would actually exist or not. But I overtake Jim Claw there. So you can see that still ahead of me are guys that haven't pitted. I know that if I catch them, they're going to be slower than me. I have to drive accordingly. I'm waiting to see if anyone comes out of the pits ahead of me. I don't think they will. Actually, should have turned the shouldn't have put the guys this low, because actually I could have given an example of like figuring out where I am in terms of. So I'm up into 3rd place. Davide Rigon in the SMP Ferrari ahead of me. One of my favorite teams. And Renko van der Zan. Oh, Renko van der Zan is way back there. Jesus, Renko. You need to get up here. I mean, admittedly, it's a Honda, which this game does not have BOP'd very well. It's a weak car. But like, it's still a pro entry. That's a bit ridiculous. So Norman Nato is in the lead. So indeed, I am effectively the leader, because again, I can see that I have served my my pit stop. That's the other thing that I'm seeing is guys who are not clearing their pit stops. Like you have a visual cue when the pit stop is cleared. It's that green color. Like if it's not like that, you've not cleared your pit stop. That's pretty simplistic. So there just really is. There really shouldn't be a tremendous number of excuses for that. So that's something else to look at. A little bit off there. All right. So that is Lewandowski ahead of me. It's an AM car. I don't even know which one that is. 444, is that's HP? I want to say it's HP. It's one of the red Ferraris. Doesn't really narrow it down. Ooh, didn't want to go down to the first gear there. Anyways, blue flag, thank you. Next on my list is Rastan in the Boots and Gideon BMW. I know that that's number 9. Boots and Gideon is an interesting one. They're one of the mongrel teams that you can run actually in this game, because they have Lamborghinis and BMWs. Have not done a remotely decent lap yet, for the record. Again, taking that save, because I did have a horrible wipeout there in the actual race. Rostan lets me through. So that's another, there we go. That's another good blue flag scenario right there. Guy just gets out of my way on a straightaway, and we don't have to worry about it. We don't have to worry about it. Now, of course, I'm also running way faster than him, so like that's another thing that really does need to be, kept in mind. You're not necessarily tremendously slower than the guy lapping you at times, and that can obviously impact things. So I'm taking the lead here. Not much else that this race is going to really tell, so I mean, to be honest, if you wanted to tune out now, you could. I'm going to use the remaining 10 minutes here just to talk about anything I can think of that maybe helps. As we're just trying to help anyone in any way I can. Utilize the HUD more effectively. I mean, I guess I could say you can see the pit window up top there has 5 minutes and 30 seconds left. I think everyone's been in. Which actually, to be honest, was not a great plan. I would have, if I was one of the leaders, I would have stayed out probably not that much longer, because of course we're at the point where there's only 5 minutes left after the pit window, so you want to be able to make use of the decent tires. Thank you to Mr. Matsuda. A little out of place there in 29th place in the KCMG car. What else can I talk about? Because I don't necessarily want to do another guide video. I want to try and tackle as much as I can. What else do I got? What else do I got? I guess the one thing I'll talk about is that I'm just noticing kind of like an interesting fact through our field is we have a lot of Porsches. 14 Porsches are registered. It's by far the most common car we have. And do not let me say this car is good or this car is bad particularly, because, it's what suits your driving or whatever. But it does seem like a lot of people who are relatively new to ACC and are still in need of growing their skills selected the Porsche, which I find to be one of the more difficult cars to drive. Not like end of the world or whatever. I mean, I can drive it over the course of a race. But even if you're and it's one that I've tested well in, I can get a pretty good individual lap out of a Porsche. But I've just found that if I have to do a run of like anything around the 30 minutes that we're looking to do, twice over, I will probably mess up. And just something I'm noticing is that if you look at the 14 Porsches in the grid and you look at how they qualify versus how they finish in the race, they tend to be negative race cars. They're the cars that are going backwards fairly often in the field. And that's maybe something to really think about is to do some like full race length practices and tests to see, is the car, like, just because a car is your fastest by, like, let's say 0.3 of a second over a lap in qualifying, does not mean it's a good idea for the race. Because if you can't hold that pace, or your chance of making mistakes are fairly high, really, you count that as a track limit violation. Interesting. Learn something new from like every lap, I guess. So, I mean, what I'm getting at is maybe do, and even ignoring the whole Porsche thing, I've just been getting like people signing up in cars, and it's clear that they've not done their due diligence to figure out what they want to do. Like, we had a recent sign up in an Aston Martin V12, and don't get me wrong, if you want to run the Aston Martin V12, all the more power to you. It's a stunningly sounding car. It's the best sounding car in the game, my opinion. What is Nikki Katzberg doing back here? Come on, Nikki, get your ass up there. But what I would say about it is that it's not a good car in any way in terms of performance. And someone signed up on that, and I said, you realize that is not a good car. And they were just completely unaware of it. So it's like they only ever tried the Aston Martin V12 before signing up for a series. I'm not going to name any names because I'm trying not to make anyone feel bad. Just trying to relate experiences. And then you have similar ones where like people will sign up an older version of a car that exists in the game. Like we had an old, we still, I think, have an old Honda signed up, although I don't think that driver is attending any of the races. He hasn't yet anyways. Oh, I really did not want to come up on Bobalik there. Oh god, that was kind of scary. Shit, James Collado is in this. I didn't even know James Collado was around. Holy crap, he's in that Ferrari up there. Okay, interesting. One of the AF Corsa Ferraris, I would think. 51? AF Corsa, I think. Anyways, so do your homework, and this applies to everything. Read the rules. Read the FAQ that John Barker has helpfully provided. Read the race info. Now, if people are legitimately having a problem finding stuff in the race info, I don't mind adjusting how I post things to try to make them more clear. Someone has suggested putting the password in bold. I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna try and, it's not that I'm not open to hearing that, Mike, you're not doing something terribly correctly as far as this is concerned, and we can adjust, we can make it better. That's not the problem, but there is a tremendous amount of just not being very prepared. And preparation is the key to a good result and a good reputation. And it should be done. Of course, most of my audience is probably tuned out at this point because, I kind of said I was done, really, and was just going to finish this up. But just trying to think of some stuff. Oh my god, Ranker Van der Zand, what is up with you, buddy? You're getting lapped by the other AI! It's a 30-minute race. This shouldn't be happening. He's down 2 laps to me now. Oh, God. All right, next up, Maxime Martin. Man, they're really getting out of my way. You do not have to do that for blue flags. Just saying. Don't have to get that out of the way. But, yeah, getting it... addressing blue flags is a good idea. We had good blue flags at Spa, so I don't think it's a problem. But just a general note there. Man, both Hondas are doing real bad. This is the second lap I'm going to put on the Jensen rocket car. Don't know that guy's name. Stuart Moore? Is that Stuart Moore? I don't know. And that's another thing you can do is you can to a degree you can honestly learn who you're really fighting against. Like we're two races in, so you should have a decent idea of like who's your rivals and who's people that if you see it's not really a scenario like I don't think I had one at Spa that is good for being an example of this. I'm trying to think if there was one at Barcelona of just like someone out of position. I guess the Andrew Anderson, when he overtook me at Barcelona, was a good example. He was flying up behind me in his Aston Martin and overtook me quite easily and quite aggressively. But part of it was I also was expecting him to be aggressive because he was very out of place. He was a top 20 kind of guy. I'm a 20th to 30th kind of guy, and maybe if I get lucky and some cards fall my way, I'd get a top 20 result. He's not the kind of guy that I am actually facing really at all. And I would know that him coming up behind me is not a fair fight. It's a sign that something has gone wrong for him. And it's not that I have to let him by or treat it like a blue flag, but there's a level of defense that I would wager against somebody else in that situation that I would not wager against someone I'm not really racing, especially if it's like early in the race. If we're talking like last lap, you know, screw it, everything goes. Like that's per position. But if you're looking at like something like 20 laps to go in the race or something, you're not going to hold off someone who's like a second faster than you a lap for 20 laps. It's just not really something that's going to happen. Now, also depends on the position. Like if tonight I get reverse grid pole at Imola or something, and Mike Stockmill comes up behind me, I'm gonna fight tooth and nail because I'm in the lead. That changes it considerably. What was that? 24-4? Still not very good. That's what I get for talking. Anyways, last lap. If you have any questions, feel free to post either in Discord or comment on the video. I'll admit that I don't... Actually, I'm going to put this up on my own YouTube channel, so I will actually see the comments a lot better. I think that's probably a good idea. Hello, Mr. Engel. Bye-bye, Mr. Engel. Lapped up to 5th place. This is slightly ridiculous. Man, if you ever need a good confidence booster, turn the AI down to like 80. This is what they are, because they are slow. They're like north of 3 minutes slow. Like it is pretty bad. I say that and I go way off. Anyways, yeah, so if you get me questions, suggestions anywhere, I'm open to it. But just because you suggest something doesn't mean it's going to be done. Because there have been some people who have been disheartened by my lack of willingness to take a suggestion. And it's because, you know, some things have been brought up before and tried before and haven't really worked all that well. And that's something to think about. Anyways, so some of the suggestions I'm taking for next season are also how to encourage more teams and how to encourage more diversity of cars, because frankly, we're like a 3-make series. Okay, it's not quite that bad. We have a couple of Ferraris, a couple of Lamborghinis, one big Bentley team, but I don't know, like there's a general lack of Audis, for example. Coming up by Rick Breakers here. He's up in 4th place, doing a good job. And just a lot of Porsches. We'll do the old cool down lap here. Just finish up anything I think of. Hey, it's a cool down lap, breakers. Anyways. Can't really think of anything else. So, use the HUD to its fullest ability. Make sure you know what... Oh, he's not done yet. Okay. He's not done. Interesting. He's still shown as green flag racing. Engel's done. Molina's done. Hopp's... I don't know. That's kind of weird. But anyways, okay, so what is the overall point of this video? Use the HUD to its fullest ability to tell you everything that it can tell you about the race. Because not doing that is creating some, we'll put it this way, interesting scenarios in terms of racing right now. And number two, be fully prepared, both like from a testing out standpoint, on track, know the rules, know everything. Be ready for the round. And seriously, I don't want to see any wrong livery choices in this upcoming round at Silverstone. That'll make me really, really unhappy if we end up with having to deal with somebody in the wrong number or causing someone else's number to be wrong. Like, it's just rude. If, like, most of the grid is getting it right, so, you know, if you're not, why can't you? I guess is what it really boils down to. I don't want to disturb Mr. Rick Breukers here as he finishes his race. Apparently. I'm really not sure why. Kim Louis Schramm and Finley Hutchison finished third. Man, what the heck here, guys? I guess he was not finishing up. Okay, it's rolling in, rolling in. Let's find my pit box. I can always use more practice getting my pit box correct, because I've been... Those who have watched my onboards know that it's been terrible doing pit boxes. So, there we go. We roll on in. It's just not going to tell me when to turn. So I'm sure that I got it right there. Okay, there we go. Anyways, so yeah, that's the guide. Make sure to use your HUD to the fullest. Make sure you're prepared. Celebrate your victory! Voila! Head of. Still weird that number 5 car is on the podium. Like, that is bizarre. But anyways, I hope the video was useful to some, and I look forward to seeing you guys out on the track for Silverstone if you're not in the 3D Spirit series that is racing today.